Now moving to Perry, Iowa, where a school shooting left a high school principal in critical condition when he intentionally, I want to emphasize that, this principal intentionally took gunfire to allow students to escape following a 17-year-old opening fire in a school's cafeteria. The shooter, reportedly armed with a shotgun and a handgun, admittedly injured 6 others and killed one 11-year-old 6th grader. Now, the town's police have identified the suspect as 17-year-old Dylan Butler, whom they believe died in self-inflicted gunshot wound. For more, let's welcome our former Milwaukee sheriff and NewsMax contributor David Clark. Also joining us is president of Crime Prevention Research Center and author of Gun Control Myths, John Lott Jr. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Wake Up America Weekend.
Good morning.
Sheriff, I want to jump in with you first. Let's just go into this. You walk into an active shooting. This principal basically drew the gunfire so that kids could get out. That's absolutely heroic, and it's not something that a principal should have to do. Law enforcement like you and I, that's what we were trained to do. That's what we signed up for. But, you know, this is where we're at right now. Do you see it getting better? Why do we keep having these instances of school shootings?
Well, what I would do is I'd start looking at our public policy. You said that this was a school. Schools are usually gun-free zones. And I think that mindset has to change. This idea, this crazy idea that if you put up a sign saying no firearms allowed, that'll stop a perpetrator like this. These places are chosen because they know there's not going to be anybody there who's going to be able to quickly end that situation. I go armed everywhere I go. Grocery store, heck, I went to church service last night. I go armed because, and I'm not trying to play hero, but my thought is if a mass shooting or a shooter comes into a church, grocery store, gas station, whatever, it's going to end quickly. So we need to start looking at changing our policy in those public places. You know,
Sheriff, excellent report. A point that you made there. Schools are often no weapon zones, but the people that are either crazy or just looking to do harm, they don't read those signs. They don't care. So, John, this is unfortunately not, believe it or not, it's not the first mass shooting to hit our country this new year. Not even a week into 2024, we already see 5 separate incidents. So what can we do as a nation to address this crisis?
Well, most of those types of attacks that you're just mentioning from the gun violence archive, about 80% of those involve gang fights over things like drug turf. Most of the rest involve multiple shootings from robberies. It's not the type of case that we're talking about with regard to a school shooting like this. I mean, obviously, any type of shooting, even if it's rival drug gangs fighting over drug turf, is a tragedy. But the causes and solutions for trying to stop them are dramatically different. You know, you look at something like these gun-free zones at these schools. As David was saying, these killers explicitly go and target those places. You look at the Covenant School shooting that happened last year in Nashville. The whole diary hasn't been released yet, but the Nashville police chief was able to go and look at it, and he said that the murderer there actually had another primary target, was a mall. But when they discovered that there were armed people able to be there, the killer there then switched to going after the school because they didn't think anybody would be there to go and stop them. You know, in Tennessee, for example, it's a 6-year prison term for you or I to go and violate the gun-free school zone rules that they have there. That's a real penalty. That would completely change our lives. But for a murderer that would go in there, it's already going to be facing, let's say, 6 life sentences, assuming that the murderer had lived in a situation like that. You know, an additional 6 years means nothing to them. Right. All the penalties end up doing is making it so that the killers know that they'll be the only people that will have guns in those places.
Right. I got to get the sheriff in here. Last 30 seconds. I think a lot of this is also mental illness. We just don't deal with it in the United States very well at all.
No, because that's not what the American left wants to deal with. They'd rather go after a demographic that would be gun owners and supporters of the Second Amendment. They'd rather go after them, making an emotional argument, than they do about what we really could do from a policy perspective to at least make a dent in these things. You're not going to stop all of them, but put a dent in it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sheriff David Clark and John Lott Jr., thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.